Today, we will explore a transformative era in American history, focusing on Northern culture and reform movements from 1815 to 1860. This period was marked by significant social, political, cultural changes shaped largely by the Market Revolution and the Second Great Awakening. These movements influenced various aspects of American life, including religion, education, gender roles, and the fight against slavery. To illustrate the impact of these reform movements, we begin with Harriet Beecher Stowe and her landmark novel Uncle Tom's Cabin. In 1850, Congress passed the stricter Fugitive Slave Act, requiring citizens to assist in capturing runaway slaves and denying them the right to a jury trial. This law infuriated abolitionists who saw it as a violation of moral principles. Isabella Jones Preacher, Stowe's sister-in-law, urged her to use her writing skills to highlight the horrors of slavery. Stowe accepted this challenge, and in 1851 she began crafting a novel that would resonate profoundly across the nation. Uncle Tom's Cabin told the stories of Uncle Tom, a kind and loyal slave, and George and Eliza Harris, a courageous couple who escaped to Canada. The novel became a sensation, selling millions of copies and shifting public opinion against slavery. Stowe argued that slavery destroyed families and corrupted individuals. Despite backlash from Southern leaders, her work galvanized many Northerners against the institution. When Stowe met President Abraham Lincoln in 1862, he reportedly remarked, and I quote, "So you are the little woman who wrote the book that started this great war," end of quote. This captures the novel's immense impact on American society. Stowe's perspective was shaped by her father, Lyman Beecher, a prominent preacher and reformer. Lyman, who became a respected minister after his religious conversion, was a fierce advocate against social ills such as alcohol consumption and dueling. Although he initially resisted the religious revivals of the Second Great Awakening, he embraced their effectiveness, leading him to focus on moral reform. The Beecher family's influence extended beyond Lyman. His 13 children became notable figures, with many sons entering the ministry and his daughter, Catherine Beecher, advocating for women's education. While she shared Harriet's anti-slavery views, she believed women should focus on domestic roles rather than engage in political activism, creating tension within the family, particularly as their sister Isabella became active in women's suffrage movement. Stowe and her family's efforts were part of a broader reform movement sweeping across the North. Middle-class citizens were energized by a spirit of improvement, proposing various ideas to enhance society through movements that included distributing Bibles, building schools, banning alcohol, promoting world peace, and improving diets. The Second Great Awakening served as a catalyst for many of these reform efforts, instilling a belief that moral improvement was achievable. In the South, reform initiatives were less pronounced but not entirely absent. Some white Southerners, influenced by religious revivals, sought to establish schools and aid the poor. However, these efforts faced significant challenges due to the entrenched institution of slavery. The literary landscape underwent significant transformation during this period, with Stowe's work exemplifying the emergence of a new wave of literature. The early 1800s witnessed a surge in inexpensive newspapers, magazines, books, pamphlets, and music sheets, marking a departure from European literary influences. Critics hailed this literary boom as a manifestation of America's independence in thought and culture, promoting the idea that individuals could improve their lives through education and moral choices. Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin not only reshaped public opinion on slavery, but also underscored the potential of literature to drive social change. Alongside the efforts of the Beecher family, Stowe's work played a vital role in the cultural and social transformations of the antebellum period, laying the groundwork for the eventual abolition of slavery and redefining American values. In the aftermath of the War of 1812, President James Monroe expressed optimism about the nation's future. In an 1816 speech, he characterized the nation as nearly perfect, a sentiment shared by many who viewed the recent victory in the War of 1812 as evidence of divine favor. This national pride was palpable during the first Independence Day celebration following the war in 1815, where communities from Maine to Georgia celebrated together. However, this optimism had its challenges. Economic and technological advancements played critical roles in shaping this national optimism. Despite this prevailing optimism, some warned that the Republic's success hinged on preservation of virtue. During the 1815 Independence Day celebration in Boston, a speaker cautioned that corruption among leaders, coupled with moral decline among the populace, could threaten liberty's principles. Lyman Beecher articulated similar concerns, criticizing the neglect of religious teachings and the rise of excessive drinking and luxury. He believed that without moral and religious guidance, the nation's prosperity could devolve into wickedness and punishment. As the market revolution unfolded, social and economic changes exacerbated these concerns. Young people migrated from rural areas, leaving behind traditional homes and community oversight, leading to a perceived loss of moral values. In rural and frontier regions, the absence of traditional restraints became apparent, with critics highlighting wastefulness and excessive drinking. Lorenzo Dow, a revivalist preacher, painted a dire picture of northern communities, while others described frontier Kentucky as a rogue harbor rife with criminals. Urban areas faced additional challenges. Between 1790 and 1860, the percentage of Americans living in cities quadrupled, with New York City experiencing rapid growth and increasing crime rates. Many newcomers struggled to find stable employment, and the breakdown of traditional household supervision led to disorder. Working class women became a source of concern for urban authorities, while migrant laborers faced even less oversight, leading to alarm among Protestant Americans regarding the influx of Catholic immigrants. Reformers recognized that urban issues, including rampant alcohol consumption, contributed to societal problems. Historians have documented that Americans consumed an average of 7 gallons of pure alcohol annually in the 1820s and 1830s, more than double today's levels. This high consumption resulted in widespread alcoholism, violence, and domestic abuse, posing dangers to individuals and communities. The economic changes brought about by the market revolution did not benefit everyone. Traditional artisans struggled as new production methods sidelined them, pushing many into poorly paid urban jobs. Economic downturns like the Panic of 1819 thrust thousands into poverty, with charity workers recording alarming numbers of jobless people during this crisis, highlighting the growing need for assistance. Urban crowding exacerbated poverty, leading to poor sanitation and rampant disease. Doctors reported thousands living in cramped, filthy conditions with inadequate ventilation or clean water. Dr. John Griscom's 1845 report detailed the squalor leading to diseases like yellow fever, cholera, and tuberculosis. Although medical professionals lacked modern germ theory, they recognized the dangers such as living conditions. Urban missionaries and medical professionals raised alarms about the moral degradation associated with poverty, arguing that cramped living conditions expose children to immoral behavior. Calls for urgent remedies to address health and moral issues echoed throughout urban landscapes. Amidst the mix of optimism and concern, the Second Great Awakening began to take root in the North. Originating in the rural South, Northern ministers recognized the growing disorder and sought revivalism as a solution to perceived national sinfulness. This religious movement greatly influenced how Americans responded to social problems during the antebellum period. The optimistic atmosphere of the early republic led to a belief in the ability to shape one's moral and spiritual life. This sense of agency was pivotal in the spread of the Second Great Awakening. Traditionally, strict Calvinists relaxed their doctrine of predestination, teaching instead that God opened heaven to all who sincerely sought salvation. Theologians like Samuel Hopkins and Timothy Dwight emphasized disinterested benevolence, helping others without expecting anything in return. Starting in the 1820s, the northern phase of the Second Great Awakening flourished along the Erie Canal. Towns like Buffalo and Rochester expanded rapidly, leading to a decline in moral standards as transient canal workers interacted with pious country folk. Amid this environment, Reverend Charles Grandison Finney rose to prominence, advocating for individual responsibility in salvation. His famous sermon, "Sinners Bound to Change Their Own Hearts," led to significant revival campaigns bringing thousands to repent. Finney's influence extended beyond transient laborers. Many leading townspeople felt morally accountable for their perceived lack of leadership. Prosperous women often spearheaded the revival efforts, followed by their husbands and other male relatives. Inspired by the movement, individuals rushed to join churches and pledged to purify their lives. Many men swore off futile diversions like liquor and cards, dedicating their business pursuits to God. Influenced by figures like Finney and Beecher, the northern middle class embraced evangelical Protestantism, seeking to bring moral seriousness to a rapidly changing American society. This embrace of evangelical values shaped the moral landscape of the North during the antebellum period as communities navigated the social upheaval brought about by the market revolution. The rise of evangelical religion sparked a strong drive to reshape American society. Many evangelicals sought to improve and perfect society, leading to new efforts in education, charity, and care for the disabled. Among the most significant impacts of the evangelical reform movement was its role in combating slavery and encouraging women to challenge traditional domestic roles. Religious revivals reached not only the wealthy, but also ordinary Americans feeling spiritually unfulfilled. Among these groups were the Shakers, who believed property and sexuality were sinful. They formed communities that shared resources and replaced traditional marriage with communal living. Many notable new denominations emerged. In New York, William Miller predicted the end of the world on October 22, 1844. When this prediction failed, his followers formed the Seventh-day Adventist Church. One of the most notable new denominations emerged under Joseph Smith Sr., who claimed to have discovered ancient Christian writings leading to the formation of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or Mormons. Smith's followers, facing persecution for their beliefs, moved westward and settled in Salt Lake City, Utah. Evangelical values also inspired broader social improvement efforts. Ministers and lay people formed voluntary associations collectively known as the Benevolent Empire to address various social issues. These organizations included missionary societies, Bible societies, and educational societies supporting young men training for the ministry. They also formed Sunday school unions to educate children and temperance societies to reduce alcohol consumption. These organizations wielded considerable financial power and aimed to reform society by instilling virtues like temperance, frugality, and hard work. They worked directly with the urban poor, addressing their immediate needs while promoting evangelical Protestant Christianity. Reformers believed that social disorders stemmed from neglecting these religious values. However, some reformers felt the Benevolent Empire's efforts were insufficient, advocating for more radical changes. Influenced by revivalism, they believed that immediate perfection of society was possible. Reformers like Samuel Gridley Howe and Dorothy Dix advocated for humane treatment for the mentally ill and created new institutions for the handicapped. Horace Mann led efforts to establish free public education, viewing it as essential for democracy. Reformers employed powerful language to inspire change, emphasizing personal improvement as a means of achieving social progress. They aimed to instill self-control and evangelical values, a means of achieving social progress. They aimed to instill self-control and evangelical values, asserting that Republican citizens must use their liberty for the betterment of society. This era was characterized by a strong belief in human perfectibility and the transformative power of moral reform. Despite their good intentions, early 19th century reform movements often faced significant opposition from various groups. Their campaigns aimed at issues like temperance and education often bypassed traditional community leaders, such as fathers and local officials, to reach individuals directly. Resentment from traditionalists was common. Many community leaders viewed reformers as undermining authority. Their aggressive campaigns against public amusements were perceived by laborers as attempts to control their leisure activities. Distrust from immigrants and Catholics also fueled opposition. Protestant reformers often viewed Catholicism with suspicion, informed by a long history of religious conflict. Now let us shift our focus to the central issue of slavery, which became a focal point of the reform movement. Initially, reformers called for gradual improvements in the treatment of enslaved individuals. However, as abolitionist sentiments grew, many began advocating for immediate abolition. The American Colonization Society, founded in 1816, aimed to address slavery by sending free blacks to Africa, particularly Liberia. However, many African Americans opposed this movement, asserting their right to live in America and fight for equality. African Americans played a vital role in the struggle against slavery from its inception. During the American Revolution, enslaved individuals in New England petitioned state governments, arguing that freedom was a natural right. Many African Americans actively participated in the abolitionist movement. Frederick Douglass became a prominent speaker and writer. Black women formed organizations to address both slavery and racial discrimination, with Harriet Tubman making multiple trips back to South to rescue enslaved individuals using the Underground Railroad. Radical abolitionists, frustrated with gradual approaches, demanded immediate abolition without compensating slave owners. William Lloyd Garrison emerged as a leading figure in this movement, launching the Liberator in 1831 and calling for immediate emancipation and racial equality. In 1833, Garrison founded the American Anti-Slavery Society, welcoming both black and female members. This organization utilized revivalist techniques, including public meetings and fundraising. However, the abolitionist movement faced intense opposition, particularly following Nat Turner's slave revolt in Virginia. Many blamed Garrison for inciting unrest, leading to violent backlash against abolitionists. As abolitionists grappled with opposition, many chose to work within the political system. They elected anti-slavery representatives and petitioned Congress to end slavery in the nation's capital. The Liberty Party, founded in 1840, evolved into the Free Soil Party in 1848, opposing the expansion of slavery. The Republican Party emerged in 1854 with a strong anti-slavery platform, culminating in Abraham Lincoln's election in 1860. During this period, women began to engage in various reform efforts, including temperance and abolitionism. They organized societies, raised funds, and petitioned Congress. The prevailing doctrine of Republican motherhood still limited their political rights, but as education for women expanded, confidence grew, prompting many to challenge societal norms. Women faced legal restrictions under the doctrine of coverture, which merged a married woman's identity with her husbands, denying her rights to own property or sign contracts. Increased alcohol consumption during this period prompted many women to join the temperance movement, advocating for reduced alcohol use to protect families. Frances Wright, a Scottish heiress and advocate for women's rights, criticized traditional domestic roles. She argued for sexual freedom, birth control, and easier divorce, establishing an experimental community in Tennessee aimed at providing education and freedom to enslaved individuals. The women's rights movement was interconnected with abolitionism. Many women active in gender equality campaigns also participated in anti-slavery initiatives, viewing both struggles as interconnected battles for human rights. In 1840, Lucretia Mott and Elizabeth Cady Stanton began discussing the need for a women's rights convention. In July 1848, they convened the world's first women's rights convention in Seneca Falls, New York. The convention attracted around 300 attendees and culminated in the adoption of Declaration of Sentiments, which asserted that all men and women are created equal. Although the Seneca Falls Convention faced ridicule, it did not lose momentum. Subsequent national women's rights conventions were held, emphasizing the need for women's suffrage and broader gender equality. Although the right to vote was not granted until the 19th Amendment in 1920, the Seneca Falls Convention laid the groundwork for a sustained movement for gender equality.